like a hot mess. That's okay. I haven't been feeling very well the last 2 days, so here I am though, doing my best. So I wanted to kind of like do a live video to answer your questions, just chit chat with you about myself, about mediumship, about Reiki, anything that you have a question on. I'm here to chat. I'm here to help you. So let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Let me know. Okay. Let's see. I guess I will just go. I hope you can hear me. I'm trying to look at the chat over here and on the screen. So we're just gonna go with this. If you can hear me, put it down in the comments. I have my iPad here, so I'm kind of looking back and forth. I do have a whole list of questions prepared that I have received from you guys that I'm going to be answering, and hopefully the audio is working. The last time I went live, I had a huge issue. So let's see. It looks like it's working, but you never know. Okay, so I'm just going to start answering your questions. What I'm going to do is I will timestamp down below after this live is over. I will close caption and timestamp all of the questions, everything that has been asked. So when you're watching the replay, it's easy for you to just find the questions and you don't have to sit through the whole video. So I'm just going to go with the list of questions that I have here and we will get going. Okay, so the first one, do you ever have readings where you get no validation from the sitter, and how do you handle that? Yes, so I've gotten that quite a few times, as a matter of fact, and there's many reasons as to why you might not get validation from a sitter, many different reasons. I have several videos on the topic. But really quickly, there are times where your energy just doesn't match the person in spirit. Your energy might not match with the client. It might not be a good fit. And in those moments where you're having a reading and things don't really feel like they are fitting in or making sense, or you're not getting a whole lot of validation from your client or your sitter, I would turn those readings off and refer them to another medium that you know. Maybe they would work better with a different medium. So there are many different reasons why you might not be getting validation. The connection, the energy between the two of you could be one of them. It could also be you don't know enough about things. And by that, I mean, I always use this example. If a spirit is coming through to me for a client and they want to talk about Game of Thrones, I am not the medium for them. I don't know anything about Game of Thrones. I would not be able to communicate that information to the client. And so that match would not work. So validation would not really come through because spirit uses what you know. Spirit uses what's available to them in your mind and in the experiences that you've had through your life. And so Game of Thrones is just, it is not there for me. It never will be there for me. So, like, that connection would not work. So, in those instances, what you can do is just stop that reading and refer them to another medium that you know or one that you highly recommend and just go from there. Do you experience imposter syndrome? And if so, how do you deal with it? Yes, this happens to me all the time, even still. Imposter syndrome is where you allow yourself to believe that you're not good enough. You allow yourself to believe that you can't do this. Or you look at other mediums or other people in a spiritual business, whether that be Reiki, energy healing, crystal healing. You look at them and you compare yourself to them and say, wow, they're this big person. They can do these amazing things. And I'm an imposter. That really can't be me. I can't do that. And that's what imposter syndrome is. And yes, to answer your question, I do experience that, not as much as I used to, but it is hard to get past those moments where you just feel like you cannot compare or compete with someone else. You feel like you will never be to that level. Or when you're putting out your service, you're putting out your product, you feel like it's not going to be as good as theirs, or you internally feel that no matter what you do or no matter what you say, it's not going to be a good quality product. And so, what I do in those moments is I really just breathe and I really just allow myself to feel and experience myself and my abilities and my journey. I try not to compare myself to others. Thank you for those hearts. I try not to compare myself to others as best as I can. Now, of course, we live in a society where comparison is really predominant. So it's hard to not compare yourself. It's hard to not have that imposter syndrome, kick in. But I do experience it. And when it happens, I just try to remind myself that I am in the right and perfect place in my journey for me. And I don't have to compare myself to others to know that what I'm doing and what I'm giving my clients is amazing. And what I'm providing to the universe and to people is amazing. I am at the perfect point, at the perfect stage in my journey, in my spiritual business, in my spiritual environment, that I don't need to worry about what others are doing or comparing myself to others, or I don't need to put myself on this really high pedestal. I just breathe through it and allow and tell myself that I can do this. I'm amazing at what I do and I can do this. And I want the same thing for you. Leave your questions. I'm answering any questions that you have. Leave them in the comments. I do have questions on my iPad that I have been asked, so I'm just kind of going through these questions. I will put closed captions and timestamps to everything after the live. So if there's a specific question, you can go back to it. You don't have to watch the whole video, but say hi, let me know you're here. Leave your question, whether it's for mediumship, Reiki, anything involving spirituality, leave your question and I'll answer it. The next one, how do you properly close your channel after a reading? So I made a video about this titled Why I Do Things Differently in My Spiritual Journey. I think that's what it's called. And this is one of the things that I do differently. You're going to hear throughout the spiritual community about you have to close, you have to ground, you have to do this, you have to do that. This is important, that is important. And in reality, it really started to give me a lot of anxiety and it made it to where I didn't really want to do readings. I didn't want to participate in the circles because everything was so rigid and everything was so structured. You have to do this, you have to close, you have to protect, you have to ground. And it really got me anxious. And one day I said, you know what? I'm not going to do these things. I'm just going to perform and live in the knowledge that I am protected, I am divine. I work for the light. I am of the light. I don't allow darkness. And I'm going to see where this takes me. And it really changed how I felt about mediumship. It really changed how I felt about doing my readings and doing my work because I wasn't so hyper focused on, okay, before a reading, I have to meditate and I have to ground. I have to get these crystals. I have to do this protection work. It kind of lifted a huge veil off of me where I didn't feel that I have to do that anymore. And it changed the trajectory of my readings. I was excited to do my readings because I wasn't worried about closing my channel. I wasn't worried about opening my channel. I know that when I sit down for a reading, it's time to do a reading. I'm open. And I know that when the reading is over, I give my speech. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for trusting me to be the person to connect with your family, something along the lines of a closing statement. And that's my signal that I'm done and I'm closed. So, to answer your question, I don't properly close in the sense that I have some kind of a ritual that I go through to where I know that my channel is closed. I give a speech at the end to my client, thanking them for allowing me to connect with their family. And that's my signal that I'm closed. And that's it. I don't do anything on top of that, or I don't force myself to have to sit through a ritual of some sort of grounding and closing and protecting. And I know you're going to find others who do that, who say that you have to do that. And that's for them. That is absolutely perfect for them. I'm more of a mentor and a teacher in the fact that I want you to find the way that works for you. You don't have to find the way that works for me or how I work. But whatever works for you and however you feel most comfortable closing your connection or opening your connection, that's really what I want you to do. Find the way that works for you. If having protection set up, having crystals works for you, then absolutely do that. But I do want you to know that you don't have to be so rigid and so strict with yourself about opening and closing and protecting your channel. I am brand new to mediumship. Where do I start? I get this question so often, and it's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking. Really, you start with yourself. And others might say you start with learning the mechanics of mediumship. I feel like that comes later. I feel like if you jump directly into mediumship, you jump directly into working with clients with a practice reading, of course, it doesn't really help you. And I'm going to tell you why I feel that way. Your trauma and your pain and your heartache from this life and others, because our other lives are stored within our DNA, really do hold you back. And I did not discover that until a year and a half, almost 2 years into my journey. And the way I discovered that was going into shadow work, working through my traumas, healing myself, healing the wounds that I have, healing the issues and the things that I feel were holding me back. And it's almost like a weight was lifted off of me, and my mediumship started coming in faster. It started coming in easier. And I use this analogy that your energy is flowing through your body like a torus, like this, or even like this. Okay. And this is your spine. And as the energy is flowing through your chakras, think about trauma and pain that is stored, right? It's stored here, let's say in your root or your sacral, for example. How that energy gets through there to then go like this, okay? And it gets stuck like this. But as you work and you heal yourself, you give that energy a channel to go through that's really easy and simple to flow through. And when I was first starting out on my journey, I would take any book I could, I would read any book I could. I took courses, I took classes, and not one single book, not one single person, not one single mentor mentioned about healing yourself to help your channel open and grow. I had to kind of come across that information on my own through trial and error, through experience. But to start off, I would look at yourself. Why do you want to do mediumship? Where is that calling coming from? And why is that calling coming? What areas of your life, through pain or trauma or heartache or struggle, do you feel that you could work on and release to allow your channel to open? So yes, books and courses, I highly recommend those. I have my own course, Soul Care Mediumship. I love my course. I built my course around what I felt I needed but couldn't find. And so my course is full of so much information to help you grow your mediumship. But I wouldn't recommend you jump right into my course. I would recommend that you jump into yourself. You jump into healing yourself and healing what has happened to you and occurred to you. If you have a trigger come up, and a trigger is a way of you get upset, you see something and it upsets you, you hear somebody talking, it upsets you, that's something to let you know there's something inside of you that needs to be healed and worked on. So, the first thing for mediumship I would suggest is to go into yourself and heal yourself. Heal what you have been through in this life to open up that flow, to open up your channel. Something else I do want to say is that healing is going to take a lifetime. And I know that sounds strenuous and you're like, oh my gosh, why? Healing is not linear. It moves and it goes up and down and it ebbs and it flows with life and your experiences. So you're always going to be doing healing. You're always going to be gaining some form of knowledge in terms of yourself, your soul, your healing journey. So I don't want you to think that it's a one and done kind of a thing. I was told having a photo of deceased loved ones is bad form. What are your thoughts on this? As I get really great readings from photos. Okay, so yes, there have been other mediums and other forums that I have seen say never ever use a photo. Photos are not good, photos are bad. And for whatever reason, and again, my stance is always that is what works for them. Those are their opinions and their feelings, and you have to find your opinions and your feelings on that subject. And so for me, I like to work with photos. I think photos are a great way to get started, especially when you're brand new and you're nervous and you don't know what to do. Having that photo kind of gives you something to focus on, and it really does help pull that information to you. When I first started taking mediumship courses, I would use photos, and it really did help me feel confident in knowing who I was connecting to and It helped me focus my mind on this photo instead of, oh my gosh, the client is staring at me, nothing's happening, they're just looking at me. And I would feel so anxious that I would give up. But when I had that photo, it kind of gave me that ability to focus on something else. Now, I don't want you to use the photo as a crutch to keep using the photo. Photos are great to start with, photos are great to practice with. In my opinion, you need to find your own. But I do believe that it helps you get started, and there's going to be a point where you don't need that photo anymore. There's something else that I teach my students and I talk about in my videos is that you're going to get to a point where you don't need anything. You can just sit down and go. You can just sit down and give an amazing reading. And until you get to that point, it is completely okay to use photos. It's completely okay to use crystals, to use rituals, to use whatever you need to get to that point where you feel confident and you feel able to give those readings. But you will get to a point where you don't need anything. You just sit down at the time it's time to do your reading and you go. Okay. So, yes, I think using photos is great. Other mediums might not, but again, it's going to be you and your choice and what feels right to you. I always tell my students and those of you on this channel, you've got to find your way. You've got to find how it works for you. Don't take what I'm saying and make it the way. Take what I'm saying but make it your own. Do you have any tips or advice about reading for pets? I absolutely love this question, and I have been highly looking into communicating with pets. I do know that it is absolutely capable. I have connected to a few pets, even a bird, which was really odd to me. I thought, there's no way this bird is talking to me, and it was. It was talking to me and giving me information for my client. So animals absolutely can come through. Animals absolutely have a soul and are able to communicate. And they communicate through telepathy, through feelings. So just because they don't speak here in the physical world doesn't mean they can't communicate with you after they have passed away. Animals very much can communicate, and animals very much can come through in a mediumship reading. So, how I would suggest getting into that is just opening your heart, sitting down and saying, you know what, I'm open to humans coming through, I'm open to animals coming through, plant life coming through, because plants are living, they can communicate anything. I'm just throwing out examples. Open your mind, say those things out loud. I want to communicate with pets. I want to have pets come through in my readings. Dogs, cats, birds, any kind of pet. Everybody has different kinds of pets. I've heard of a pet peacock once on a news article. Just open your mind to that. Say those things out loud, and pet information will start coming to you. You know, our thoughts really do control what happens to us and really does control our experiences in life. It took me a long time to believe that, but it is very true. And so when you tell yourself, I'm going to communicate with pets, you're going to get pet communication. When you tell yourself, oh, I can't do that, I can't connect to a pet, I can't get a dog, I can't get a cat, then you're not going to get it, okay? Because your thoughts are projecting that into the world. You're telling yourself you can't do it, so you won't get that information. So, if you want to work with pets, the best way I feel to do that is to open your mind to that, open your thoughts to that, allow that information to come in, speak that information, whether in your mind or out loud, into the universe. I connect with pets. I can easily connect with my clients' pets. I can easily connect to dogs, easily connect to cats, and so on. And that information, that connection with their animals and their past loved ones will start coming to you. You will start seeing those connections when you are in your mediumship readings connecting with clients. And the next thing I will say about that is don't doubt it like I did. I would doubt that a bird was talking to me, and I finally said it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this information is correct. So when you're sitting down for a mediumship reading, that information coming through is for your client. Always give that information. But to answer the question, speak those things out loud. Speak that pet communication in your mind. Say it and affirm it to the universe and to yourself. And those communications will start coming to you. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat. I'm checking those as I'm doing this. Thank you so much, HuntBot, for the hearts. I appreciate that. Any questions you have, leave them in the chat. I can answer those for you, but I do have several here on my iPad that I'm going through. Okay, I am new and can't seem to hold the connection. I have it long enough to get a piece of evidence, but then go back and it's gone. Any advice? This does take time. In the beginning, I was the exact same way, and I thought it was me. I thought something was wrong with me. I would get a piece of evidence, and then all of a sudden, the person's gone. Or I could feel them so clearly, but when I went to speak, it's like everything else fell away, and the words kind of like took me out of that connection with spirit. This happened to me in the beginning many times, and I really put myself down for it because I thought I was doing something wrong. In the beginning, this is very typical, it's very common, and there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with your mediumship. You are training yourself, your mind, your body, your soul to connect, which is something you've never done before when you're new to this mediumship journey, and so it takes time for your body to establish what that connection feels like and how to hold on to it. So when you're learning and you're first developing, you're getting this little piece of information and then you give it, and when you go back, it's blank. There's nothing there. Your body and mind, your soul, it takes time to learn how to connect to that and hold on to that. As you do more practice readings, and I do recommend that you do as many as you can, as you do more, you're going to grow that connection ability. You're going to grow that connection muscle, if you will, to be able to connect to spirit and hold that connection. So, for the time being, I suggest practicing as often as you can. Don't burn yourself out, please. It's not a race. You're not trying to get somewhere super quick, but practice with your clients. And when you have a practice person in front of you, say to them, I'm practicing on holding this connection. Will you allow me to sit here for a moment and hold that connection? And I have never had someone say to me, no, I'm not doing that. Everybody that I've ever worked with practice wise has been very understanding. Now they might, try to say something to you, like, oh, that doesn't fit when it really does. Other things happen, but they have always been so nice to me in allowing me to practice, especially when you put it out there at the very, very beginning. Hey, I need to practice this. Who's willing to help me? So I would suggest that as well. When you're doing a practice, ask your client, can I just sit here and hold this connection for a moment? And really allow yourself, your body, your soul, your mind to remember and hold that connection and build that muscle. In the beginning, it's going to be very difficult to do that. And I don't want you to think that there's anything wrong with you or your mediumship. That is very typical. That happened to me. But as you keep working with clients, as you keep working with sitters and practicing and learning how you yourself work, that connection is going to get stronger. You're going to be able to hold it for a lot longer. If you're just joining, go ahead and leave some comments. I will be answering your questions about spirituality, Reiki, myself, mediumship. Leave those in the comments. I'm going to go back after the live. I will close caption everything, and then I will timestamp where everything is so that you don't have to sit through the whole video. You can go in the comments down below into the timestamps, and I will put where everything is so you can find it super easy. But if you're here, say hi, leave a comment, leave a question, and I will answer it. How do you deal with a family member who doesn't believe in this and always puts you down and tells you it's demons playing tricks on you and not really a past spirit? So I have come across this several times. One or two people in my own family, but for me, my family has been very supportive of me, honoring what I can do. They tell people all the time, my daughter's a medium, my daughter can do this. So I've been really lucky in that aspect of my business, of my mediumship, of my journey. But I do have some family members that are extremely religious, and I respect that so much. Your views and your values in this life are for you. Okay. You're in this life to live and experience it for you. Okay. If you believe certain things, I honor and I cherish that. I honor and I cherish my beliefs, and I don't try to push them on my family or on my friends. And when those moments do come up and they say you're communicating with a demon, this is not real, I just remind them that my experiences are real for me. My clients receive real healing, my clients receive real help. And I feel when I'm connecting, and this is so true, I feel more alive and more in tune and more upbeat, I guess you could say, more vibrant when I'm connecting to give a mediumship reading than I do in my regular life. And that feeling doesn't come from a demon, okay? That feeling doesn't come from some negative entity. They don't have those kinds of feelings attached to them. When I sit down for a mediumship reading, I feel so connected and I feel so alive. I feel like my channel is so open, I can just breathe in the freshest air you have ever experienced. And that kind of feeling, that kind of sensation, that doesn't come from something demonic. Now, that's what they believe, and I 100% hold strong that they're allowed to feel that, okay? In those moments where that comes up, I change the subject because they're not gonna change, I'm not gonna change. I love who I am, I love what I do. This mediumship journey has changed my life in so many amazing and beautiful ways. I would never, ever change it, I would never, ever go back, and I don't want to change somebody else's mind in terms of this question, okay? I don't want to change somebody else's mind. I want them to find that on their own. And if they never find that, that's what their soul was meant to do and to experience. We don't know what their soul is here to learn and to do, and to try to affect that or change that, I feel is wrong. I love when people have their own opinions, their own values, their own thoughts. And I strive to tell everybody to have their own thoughts, their own opinions, and to really live this life in a way that is true and authentic to them. Now, if they try to change your mind, if they try to sway you, that's where I kind of have an issue. Like, I want to do me, you do you, I respect you, you respect me, and let's, keep our bond. Let's respect one another. So, in these moments, I would say if you can walk away, walk away. If you can change the subject, change the subject. I don't typically give any lectures about, well, this is why I do this and this is why it's amazing, because again, their journey is for them and my journey is for me. I hope that answered your question. To those that are just tuning in, leave a comment down below. I'm here to answer your questions about mediumship, Reiki, tarot, spirituality, anything you want to know about me. Leave them in the comments, even if you just want to say hello. I have a few more questions here that I'm going to go through, and then I will let you all have your beautiful Saturday. How did you know you were a medium? So I have a huge long video. It's my very first video on YouTube where I had no idea what editing was. I didn't even know how to look at the camera. I'm talking so awkwardly because it was my first video. But if you look at my first video on YouTube, it explains my whole journey. I've been called to really make a newer, fresher, updated one. So I might actually do that, create a new video about my journey into mediumship. But I had always felt called to it in my 20s. Teresa Caputo, John Edward in my teen years, they were very prominent on the news and in books and stuff, and I would see them and I would be so called to them. I would see John Edward on his show crossing over, and I'm like, in my mind for a split second, oh, that's me. And then, wait a minute, no, no, I'm not a medium. You have to be born that way. That was what we thought. And so I would always push those thoughts aside. I would always say, no, you weren't born that way. You can't do that. You're not a medium. But every time I saw Teresa or I saw John, I would just feel so called to it. I would feel like that was supposed to be me up there. And then we're going to fast forward to me being 36. I'm about to be 40. So I'm 4 years into my journey. So I'm 36 years old and I'm at a restaurant with a friend, and I really did not want to be there. I really wanted to go home. I'm very introverted. I like to be at home. I like to do things alone or with my daughter, with my mom. I'm very introverted. So like going out, it's like, oh, I gotta go out. So I force myself to go out. And I get to this restaurant with my friend, and I immediately feel something. Again, I had no experience with this. I never had an imaginary friend. I never felt spirit. I never talked to spirit. But I'm in the parking lot and I get this dreaded feeling over me. And I'm like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta leave. And I was gonna text my friend to say, okay, forget it. But he pulls up and I'm like, oh God, now I have to go in here. And long story to wrap that up, I was able to give a spirit communication. You can hear all about that in my very first video. I will make a new updated one soon. But that's how I got into it. I had a random experience with spirit. I was able to connect to spirit very randomly, and it kind of just happened to me. And I really do feel like it catapulted me into this journey that I'm in now. I really feel like it was meant to happen exactly as it did. There's times where I look back and I think, why did it take so long for this magic to come into my life? Why did it take so long for mediumship or Reiki or healing work to come into my life? Like, I'm going to be 40. I could have been doing this for the last 20 years, healing and helping people. But over time, I realized that things really do come into your life in the moment that they're needed to come in the way that they're needed to come in. I think if it came in any other way where I wasn't actually forced to do it, I don't think I would have pursued it. But I was in that moment and it was like I had to go back and talk to her. I felt magnetically pulled. I didn't have a choice. So that's how I started my mediumship journey. And you can watch my very first YouTube video, it'll explain all of that. To those that are just joining, go ahead and leave some questions down in the comments. I will answer those here. I'm going to look at a few more questions and then I'm going to let you have your Saturday back. But leave your questions or comments down into the live chat. I'm reading all of those, answering all of those. I will go back and timestamp everything so you don't have to watch the whole video. I will add closed captions as well. And even if you just want to say hi for being here, that'd be great. How do you tell your sitter the more sensitive cases of death like suicide? This is a really good question, and I have had this come up many times in readings where the person took their own life. And it's something I teach in my mediumship development course is that you are in a role of responsibility when you're the medium, okay? People are coming to you to you have to say you are in a role of responsibility. And when you connect to somebody that has died from suicide, I really feel heavily that you don't need to say that, okay? You don't need to say, hey, this person's here and they showed me that they died in this manner. You can say words such as, I have this person here and they are taking responsibility for how they passed away. You don't have to say, well, they committed suicide and they did it in this manner. You are somebody that they are looking to for healing. As the medium, are somebody that they are looking to know that their family members are safe and protected and happy, and especially when they die in a manner such as suicide, they're coming to you to know that their family member is okay and beautiful and happy and healed. Okay, so you have that responsibility. I don't ever think, and again, this is my opinion, you've got to do your mediumship and your services how they feel best for you. But my opinion is the word suicide doesn't have to come up. Okay. It's very triggering for some, it's very hurtful. So using words such as they are taking responsibility. This person shows me that they contributed to their death. You don't have to say anything further. That person, your client, they know, okay? So using sensitive words when you're dealing with somebody of suicide is how I would prefer to go, how I would prefer to tell my client about that information that I'm getting. How do I calm my fears about mediumship? So I get this question often. A lot of people will DM me on Instagram telling me that they feel really called to mediumship. They feel really called to healing work, but they're just so afraid of what's going to happen. And I felt that way as well. I remember the night my mediumship turned on and I had that random experience at the restaurant. I was so scared to go to sleep. I thought that there was going to be some creepy things, some creeps at the end of my bed. I was going to wake up and there was going to be entities above me. I was so afraid to see them in my house that I would keep the lights on, I would keep the TV on. And this is something that you have to get yourself to. I know that, but if you stop that fear, all that goes away. It took me a while to realize that if you stop being afraid, all of that will go away. And I don't have that fear anymore. I don't feel like I'm going to see entities. I don't feel like I'm going to see spirits or evil people in my home. The fear is really what kept me stuck in feeling like those things were going to happen. So if you can find a way to get past that fear, you're going to open yourself up to so much magic. You can't even believe what's on the other side of that fear. Fear really does hold us back, not only in mediumship, but in life and in our relationships and in our jobs. We have this fear of the unknown, and that fear of the unknown is what holds us back. If you can say, get out of here, move that fear to the side, even if it takes time. I had to sleep with the lights and the TV on for probably a month. And then I turn the TV off and I just had the lights on. And then I would turn a few lights off, but I would have one next to me. I slowly found ways to release that fear. And one night I said, screw this, I turned the light off. Let's see what happens. And I slept through the night and I realized that the fear is what was holding me back. And being in that position, I know exactly how you feel. I was so fearful of spirits contacting me while I was sleeping. I was so fearful of spirits trying to get into my house or bothering me while I'm out. And that's going to come down to boundaries. You've got to set that boundary. Setting boundaries is I don't want spirits in my home. I don't want spirits to communicate with me when I'm out in public. I only want to communicate with spirits when I'm in a reading with a client. Setting boundaries, strong, firm boundaries will also help you release that fear. Spirit is very, very intelligent. They listen to us, they feel us, they know us. And sometimes I feel they know us better than we know ourselves. And so they know when we set that boundary, when we say, this is what I want, that is what is respected and that is what happens. Now, do some little spirits get through where I'm at Walmart and I have someone trying to talk to me? Yes, of course. But I say, you know what? I'm not working right now. I can't do a reading with you. I won't do a reading with you. I know that TV and reality has made it so famous to walk up to a stranger in a Walmart and say, I have your dad here with me. I that's not for me. If it's for you, 100% go for it. But that's not for me. I don't want to walk up to a stranger and say, your dad is here with us. I don't feel comfortable doing that. So if I have a random spirit come up to me and say, hi, I'm here, I say, you know what? Thank you for connecting to me. I'm honored, but I don't work right now. I'm off right now. And I've never had a problem with them leaving. So that's several ways to answer your question about fear, finding ways to get past that, doing what you have to do to allow yourself to feel safe and protected, but know that you're going to wean those things back until you know you're solid in the fact that you are the light. You are of the light. Nothing is going to affect you, nothing is going to hurt you, and you will get to that point. Those just joining, leave some comments or questions down below. Just say hi, let me know you're here. My hair's a hot mess. I haven't been feeling good. I'm sorry. But I planned this live and I did not want to let anybody down. I'm going to answer one more question. So if you have anything, put that in the chat now. Otherwise, this is going to be the last question and I'm going to let you have your beautiful Saturday. How do I know if I'm picking up on spirit or residual energy? This is very good question because this happened to me in the beginning as well. I would feel this residual energy. What is residual energy? Well, let's say my AirPods here, I have them in my ears. I touch something. My energy is now in this object. My energy, my essence, me, I'm in this object. My AirPods, they're in the object. My shirt, my Apple Pencil, okay? Anything you touch gets imbued with your energy. And people like myself, psychics, mediums, energy healers, they can then hold this and be able to feel the energy in it, read the energy in it. It's called psychometry. I teach you all about this in my mediumship development course, how to do this. VK Corey 12. Hi, Corey. I teach you how to do this in my mediumship development course using psychometry to read energy and read information off of objects. But the way to know the difference, whether it's spirit or it's residual energy, is that spirit will communicate back to you. Residual energy is, I'm not saying stuck, but it's stagnant in this object, okay? It cannot communicate with you. It cannot tell you, hi, my name is Mel and I am a psychic medium. You can get bits and pieces of information off of it, but it doesn't communicate back. So that is how you will know the difference between a spirit and residual energy. You could say to the spirit, what's your name? Where are you from? Or show me a memory, and you will get a response back. With residual energy or leftover energy, that response does not come. You don't get a response back. You get a feeling when you touch something, you get a thought or a memory when you touch something, and that's it. Or when you walk into someone's house. I've experienced that many times myself, where obviously the home you live in is full of your energy, full of your life, full of your experiences. It's full of your memory and what you've been through and gone through in life. I've gone into someone's house and I've had a memory flash in my mind. That memory cannot communicate with me. It cannot say, hey, this happened on this date. This is that. It's just a flash, a memory, a feeling. because that's residual energy. It lives within your home. It's part of the walls because you live there, you experience life there, your energy is there. So that is how you're going to know the difference. Spirit will communicate back, residual energy will not. I'm going to give it a few more minutes. If you have any questions, you want to just say hello. I'm going to end this live, but I want to make sure I answer all of your questions or I get to anything that you need to say before I turn it off. I do know there's a little bit of lag between you leaving a comment and me talking, so I'm just going to give it a few minutes. Say hello. Tell me where you are in your mediumship journey. Let me know what questions you have. If not, I will get back to them in the comments after this live. Leave me a comment, let me know. I'm going to go back after I finish the live. I'm going to close caption everything and I'm going to put timestamps so that you can get directly to the questions that have been asked and I've answered so you don't have to sit through the whole video. I hate that. Where you have a question in mind and you're like, oh, I'm going to watch this video, see if they answer my question. And you get through an hour-long video and they didn't answer the question. So I'm going to timestamp everything down below as well. It looks like we don't have anything else coming in. Thank you all so much for being here on a Saturday morning with me. I hope I answered the question that you needed. If not, leave those down below or DM them to me on Instagram. That's where a lot of you like to DM me. I love that. That's perfect. Or you can send me an email. I will answer them. I will make another video. I might go live again next weekend. We'll have to see what my schedule looks like. But thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all enjoy this beautiful Saturday. I hope it's beautiful wherever you are. And thank you so much.